Share the link. Give it a minute and let me share the link. All right, guys, welcome to the stream. We'll be starting in a couple minutes. If you guys are in here, just stop and say hi.
I love that graphic.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to work with that one. I posted the link in FHS. Our team fitted, we're up. How many people got here? I posted the link in FHS. All right.
What's up, Marin? Chris K, Dwayne. I won't repeat what your comment is. We know what you're about, Dwayne. Jesse, what's up? Pablo, what's going on? I haven't got the good evening, gentlemen, from John McNutt yet. So
Yeah. Thanks in the house. The other day.
Alec, what's up, Martin?
It's Dodger Day today. Thank.
In the FHS Flex. I think I lost 4 followers today on Instagram.
Yo, there's a lot of Dodger haters out there, eh?
Because I posted 18 Dodger pictures on my Instagram today.
I thought the Yankees were polarizing. I think more people hate the Dodgers now. Probably Houston's up there, number 1, probably, right? Houston.
I think if Houston, man, yeah. No, I'd say Houston number 1, Yankees number 2, Red Sox number 3, in terms of just hatred. What were you gonna say? What would you say, Mead?
I mean, Yankees and Dodgers are probably both the most loved and the most hated teams in baseball. I mean, you either love them or you hate them.
Yeah.
There's no in between. Red Sox are like, yeah.
As we're waiting for people to jump on, the reason why I have so many Dodgers caps is because they don't do cool Red Sox caps.
Yeah, they don't.
They just really don't, man. They don't do any of the cool stuff, man. No one's gonna put a palm tree next to a Boston B.
There's no palm trees in Boston.
All they did was like that stupid Paul Revere hat.
Everyone thought that was George Washington.
Who the hell wants a Boston hat with like a statue of Paul Revere next to it? Like it's just like, you know.
You couldn't even tell it was Paul Revere. That's the thing too.
No, everyone's like, that's George Washington. No, I'm 100% certain that's Paul Revere.
Well, what makes the Yankees, I guess, less hated recently is because they haven't had as much success, right?
Yeah, I think that changed the dynamic. The Red Sox started winning, the Yankees weren't as dominant, and then it kind of changed. There's not as much hatred. It's kind of balanced out.
Mm-hmm. All right,
cool.
Let's get this started. Hey guys, welcome to Views from the Vault, episode 13. It's your homie Leon here. We are here with my co-hosts, Pierre and Jason. We have a very special episode today. We have Jeremy from Brunch Boys over to join us to do a collector spotlight and kind of go under the cap with us. So Pierre's gonna, talk to him, and hopefully you guys enjoy.
Well, I think I should warn everybody not to go onto Jeremy's Instagram if you're hungry. That's going to exasperate things, right? That's going to make people even more hungry. But listen, I think first of all, I'm honored to have you on the show. I know you wrote on the Instagram story that you were honored to be on with us. No, we feel so privileged to have you here with us today. You know, getting to know you prior to coming on just now, I think some folks are gonna be very happy to learn some things about you because there's a lot more to you than meets the eye. You're not just some guy that likes to put together bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches. So I wanna give you a chance to kind of share with everyone what you're about and what you're into. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Jeremy?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was kind of joking with you guys beforehand. Like, if you guys don't know my page, Brunch Boys, I always explain it as like it's my food adventures all over the world. I mean, right now I'm sort of stuck in my apartment for a few months, but generally it's me traveling all over for it. You know, I used to work in TV. I used to work in sports TV and then food TV, and it all sort of weirdly led to this weird influencer life. But one of the reasons I was so excited to come on was saying it was an honor was, you know, it's funny with Brunch Boys, obviously because it's food focused, I do talk a lot about other things on that platform because it's my life. My hats are one of those things I'm very passionate about. But the people that are my audience on there doesn't necessarily care so much about it. So I don't generally get asked to talk about my hats. I'm generally asked like, you know, where's my favorite brunch, which I'm happy to talk with you guys about too. But when you're like, hey, can we talk about hats? I'm like, hell yeah, because I mean, honestly, hats have been part of my life for way more than brunch and Instagram and social media. None of those things, brunch existed, but those other things didn't exist when my hat collection started. So
yeah, so tell us, like, you know, what is your Instagram all about? So like for some folks that may not have visited, let's start there because I think that's like the elephant in the room that everyone would like to know about. But then I want to go into the podcast you have because I think a lot of people are going to be excited to hear about that.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, Brunch Boys is all like the food. It's all food focused. It's a lot of video because I used to work in TV as a producer. That was always my background. That's always what sort of made me stand out. So cooking at home, traveling when I can. A lot of it's just going to restaurants, seeing the dishes prepared, me eating, having fun with it. The YouTube part of Brunch Boys is a little bit more vloggy, so all that stuff, but a little bit more of my day-to-day as well. And, you know, sort of incorporating all of my life into that too. But yeah, the podcast is another thing that my audience is like, that's cool, but like, whatever. But there's a lot more crossover with your audience, hopefully. Part of my past life was I worked in sports TV and actually worked at WWE for a year. I've been a wrestling fan my entire life. It was like when you're little, like, oh, like, of course I wouldn't work at WWE. So I did that. I also had the dream, you would think would be the dream job was I was paid to watch wrestling, where it was like my first job out of college. So like you get a job and you're like day one, you're like, oh my God, like someone's paying me to watch wrestling. That's insane. But after like 3 months of it, you're like, someone like I'm getting paid to watch wrestling, which thankfully didn't take my passion away from wrestling, but certainly like it's not as good of a job as you think it is. But anyway, taking all that, getting back to what I want to talk about, I have a podcast called Monday Night Pod Wrestling's War, which is all about the Monday Night Wars. I know that people love the Monday Night Wars between WWE, FE, Raw, and WCW Nitro. Is obviously the peak of wrestling taking over culture, really. And each and every single week, it is a nerd deep dive. Me and my buddy started at the beginning, Raw versus Nitro week 1, and every single week we focus on those battles and we go in order. So you can watch along with us. You could tag in, find an episode you like, whatever. It's fun. And again, it's like that. I look at it as every day sort of dedicated to Brunch Boys. That's my job. It's my full-time job for over 6 years. But the opportunities I have to sort of like do something creative away from that are really thrilling to me. So whether it's the hats, like I mean, found basically this community I'm still finding out more and more about, mostly because I started Brunch Boys Caps on Instagram too. Just because I was like, one, little by little, I started learning like, oh wow, this like, all these people are out here. I want to find them. And two, it sort of helped me document my collection because I've never really gone back through it. I did a live video with Hat Club and then decided to do this big long video for YouTube going through every single one of my hats. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool to just document these hats somewhere and dig into them a little bit more. So I started doing that too. And, you know, like I said, my hat collection goes back to when I was in 4th grade. It's over 20 years ago. So your head size doesn't change. So I'm able to wear all of my hats from the fit changes hat to hat, unfortunately, but for the most part, they all
Jeremy,
fit me still.
Jeremy, I agree with you to a certain extent, but Barry Bonds' hat size did change.
That's true. Well,
and so did mine because I lost hair, so I went from a 7 3/8 down to a 7 1/4. So, but no, fair enough. But listen, so Jason, I'd love it if you asked Jeremy because you're a huge wrestling fan, right? I'm sure you have a couple of questions you're itching to ask.
Well, I just pulled up his podcast right here, and I have just lost 54 hours of my life because I'm listening to every single one of these episodes. But yeah, just going through the Monday Night Wars. I mean, that was the height of the WWE or WWF back then versus WCW, and chronicling when Hulk Hogan jumped ship and really changed the dynamic of everything. And yeah, I'm super pumped to have finally met a big wrestling fan as me, besides maybe Big Dave. But
yeah. You know, Big Dave, man.
Yeah.
We should have Big Dave. If I had known about this podcast, we could have Big Dave jump on, man. This dude's backdrop, Jeremy, just so you're aware, is just a bunch of like wrestling championship belts.
Oh, so my quarantine, I feel like everyone made like some weird quarantine. Let me just go grab it. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
It's right here. I'll show it to you guys. I dreamed about this my entire life, and because your brain breaks, I finally bought it. I bought myself a World Heavyweight Championship.
I got it. He has a wall of those.
So this is like, yeah, so it's the WCW version of this was bigger. This is more when WWE bought WCW, they made the title smaller. So it's more that version. It's not from WWE because I think like the ones they sell aren't that great. It's from this place, Fandu. I don't know. They make the belts in China. They ship it to me pretty fast. And it's like legit. It is the dumbest thing I've ever purchased, but it brings me so much joy that I do not regret it for 1 second.
Oh, the nameplate on there. I love the nameplate.
The nameplate says Triple J because my favorite wrestler of all time is Triple H. And if I were to, so there's a lot of I'm Jeremy Jacobowitz. So basically I would be Double J, but in wrestling, there's already been a few Double J's. So I figured to pay homage to my favorite wrestler, I would be Triple J if I were to be a wrestler.
That's very cool, dude.
That's fitting, man. That's fitting. Because like when I grew up, it was like I was telling you, it was like so I'm older than you, obviously. I'm gonna date myself a little bit here, but like it was like Jimmy Superfly Snuka, like you had the Iron Sheik, Andre the Giant, like those were the guys that were still around in my younger days. But listen, I don't think we've had a more well-rounded guest on our show. I mean, you can brunch with the best of them. You're well-traveled. You understand wrestling like probably like no other. And you also love caps. So we do have people in the comments, Jeremy, asking where the heck your cap is, but I think it's because you have the headset on.
You know what's so funny is I was all day I was like, what cap should I wear? And then I jumped on with you guys and I just totally forgot to put it on. So I was thinking about it all day of like what would be the most appropriate.
Well, I can't take my cap off, Jeremy, because I'll blind the viewers. So I have to keep the cap on.
I'll go with so this is my favorite cap. So this is the 96 World Series, the one that means the most to me. This is not, so my first cap I ever got was this cap in 1996. My mom didn't know anything about caps back then, and she decided to wash it in the washing machine and dryer. Wow. So the patch fell off and it shrunk to nothing. So that was the original was destroyed. But thankfully, I've been able to buy the replica of it, which is exactly. I mean, other than all this in here, it's all the same. Like obviously, the inside would have looked more like the oldest cap I have, which is the Blue Jays. Hold on, don't chop everything like bad. But I'll take what I can get.
Well, listen, since we know you love Hat Club, so if you want that 96 cap, you could probably get it in 42 different colors and under visor colors.
You know what's funny? I find that they push. Wait, let's put this on 1 second. They weirdly always do 1999.
You're right.
Which is such an odd world. Out of all the World Series, it's the one to me that is the most unremarkable to me. Like 98, you have the greatest team of all time. 2001, you have the Subway. 2000, you have the Subway Series.
Yeah.
1999, why is
You
that?
know
one
why
always the
though? I
cap?
think it's the visual component of what the patch
I
looks
think
like.
they like that.
The logo. They like the logo of it. Yeah.
You know what it's like? It's almost like, I don't know. I don't know how much everyone else prescribes to this, but I believe that a lot of the cultural components of this have pulled people in just from the visual aspect of it. It's not necessarily like you connect with 98, right? That team, and you connect with 96, obviously. I connect with the 2004 Red Sox. But some of these younger folks that are buying fitted caps now are connecting more with just how they look.
Right. So these are the original I have. These all survive. So that's 98. And here's the original 99. So I guess, yeah, I don't know, whatever.
That 99 patch does look sharp though.
Yeah, that's true.
My favorite patch for the Yankees is the 2004 World Series championship patch.
Oh, really? I don't have that cap. Funny. That's what.
So Jeremy, you were talking a little bit earlier with us about how you got into hats, and I know you alluded to some of it, but your story is very similar to a lot of other stories I hear out there in terms of how travel somewhat connected to caps. Now, first through your mother, and then eventually through what you do now. Do you want to take everyone through that?
Sure. Yeah. So like I said, so 96 was the first cap I ever got because I was 10 years old. The Yankees won the World Series, and that's what you do. And then it started, like, I just started getting, I don't even remember why. Like, I do not know why I own this Blue Jays cap, which is the oldest one still in my collection. For some reason, I got it. But then pretty much from there, it started. My mom traveled a lot when I was a kid, so that became like what she would get for me when she would travel. And it was always fitted. It was always MLB. Like, even when I was 10 years old, 11 years old, I was apparently very specific about what I wanted.
Yeah.
So she started getting me that. And then it became my thing of like, okay, wherever I travel, I will get that cap. So when I used to work in TV, I traveled all the time. I still travel after Brunch Boys. I've always tried to keep it very specific as worn on the fields, fitted, official MLB. Sometimes I go to cities that don't have an MLB team. Usually there's a minor league team close enough, so I'll get that.
Yeah.
Like when I went to Japan, I picked up a Japanese cap, which was a mistake I made. So this was my mistake. I hate that I did this. I tried to get it for every city. So it was really difficult to find caps in Japan because it's just not a big part of their culture there, especially with baseball teams. But I finally found a Lids in Kyoto. And I was like, oh, finally. So they had every hat of every team. And I was like, okay, well, I can't like pack my suitcase full of hats. I'll buy the one cap now. And when I get back to New York, I'll order the rest of them, which is sometimes what I do. If I can't find the cap while I'm there, just order them.
Oh, you learned a valuable lesson that day.
Yep. I got back to America and I was like, why can't I get these? And I actually DM'd Hat Club. I was like, why can't I get Japanese caps? They're like, yeah, those are never going to come here. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, we've got listen, off to the side, Jeremy, if you're ever looking for a cap out there, let us know. We've created quite the I don't know, international connection. So we have them all over the place that can help us get caps in different places. So if you're
if you want to talk about, so all of Japan I want. The one I cannot find, I don't know why I don't own this cap. I don't have the 2009 World Series World Series cap for the Yankees. Ooh. And I only see it where the patch is on the wrong side, which I don't want. I only want if the patch is worn on this side, which is like a big bummer because I realize that like now it's not possible. But for these caps, I don't truly understand the rules, but it seems like if they were able to make them originally with it, they're able to produce it now. And I bought one the other day, a few weeks ago, and it said 2009 World Series. And I was like, finally the patch, but I didn't look closely enough at the patch. It wasn't the World Series patch, it was the World Series championship patch.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, damn it. So that's the next one I have to find. That at least the nose produced. I want like, I have a weird fascination with those weird 90s caps that were like gray and white that were like only weren't like, what the Royals had like a gray one. The Mets had a white one for a season. The Red Sox had that white one for a season.
Yeah, they had a white one.
I like those things. Yeah.
The Nomar Garcia Para cap is what we would call it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's so many cool ones. And I think like, for some of those, you can still find the patches on the correct side.
Yeah.
You just got to look closely enough. Like I know Hat Club's recently released some that had them on the right. When I say the right side, I mean the correct side.
Right. It
the way they
seems
were
like, I feel like from my understanding, it was like if that cap was originally produced with it on that side, like the 96 cap I'm wearing, they're able to make it. But if it's any different, they can't. So like all their like special caps, because that's not an official cap, they can't do it. Does that sound right?
Well, the other reason is today they want that new era logo.
Right. I mean, yes, that's,
side
yeah,
of the cap,
of course.
and so they
Yeah.
probably have to pay extra or something like that in order to replace
Gotcha.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
2016, they started putting the new era
Right.
logo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with 2009, you'll still be able to. That cap will be released. We'll keep our eyes open, Jeremy. I'm sure that cap is in existence.
And I know there is a 10-year window after the patch is used on the field, but nobody can produce it. So that 2009 one, you should start seeing those come around anytime now.
See, that's weird. That's the weird part, though, Jason. Like you say, 10 years, but they just started embroidering the Red Sox World Series patch from 2008.
That's what I've heard is the 10-year window. Maybe I've heard incorrectly, or maybe they're quoted incorrectly. I don't know, but I've heard several places say they have to wait 10 years for the.
No, that's weird. Yeah, because well, we can research that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm sure someone will comment incorrectly.
Yeah, I'm sure. Listen, we have a nation of fact checkers. Just so you're aware.
Great.
Like, so.
Please correct me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm certain someone's Googling it right now. But yeah. So let me ask a question. So you visited a lot of different places. So what's been the coolest place you visited, and the coolest cap you've picked up?
Yeah. I mean, for me, the coolest place was Japan. It was my absolute dream to go to Japan. And I was able to go for Brunch Boys for work pretty much, but work for me is fun. Like my work is, I worked with the airline, All Nippon Airways, and they were like, we'll send you to Japan, we'll pay you, just go make a lot of videos that make people want to go to Japan. I was like, done. So I spent 3 weeks there.
Oh man,
just making food videos and eating everything and just experiencing the culture. That was the best. So the pickups, what's the best one? What's funny is I've grabbed a lot of them. A lot of them I didn't even grab there. For some reason, I've only been to Seattle once.
Yeah.
I have so many Seattle caps. And part of that is just like every single cap they've ever worn is incredible.
I just saw your picture of the pilot's cap. You're wearing the pilot.
Yeah, so that's what I'm holding right here.
Oh.
Yeah, so these are just like a few. These are two of my newer ones. Both of them. This one I've had on my list forever to get. I finally picked it up. But everything, like the one actually I probably like the most was the Seattle cap I got in '98, which is like the silver brim, just the little compass. Whatever.
I just got that. You want to see? Let me show you.
Yeah, that one's cool. I liked it how like the brim is like that different material that
I like it
no
too.
one else has
Hold on,
ever
I'll show
done.
you. So a buddy of mine, TJ, and I, this guy was on eBay.
Yeah.
This one, right?
Yep. That's it. Oh yeah, with the tag. Yep, that's the exact one I bought in 1998. Yep. 100%. The only thing missing is my dog destroyed a few caps in like 1999.
Okay.
She destroyed, unfortunately, I had the like 1997 Red Sox red cap, that alt one, which I haven't seen. I bought like their batting practice red, but it's not the same. She destroyed that one. Destroyed a like 90s Orioles cap, which is fine. That's easy to replace. And she just ripped the little squeegee off the top of the Seattle cap. So squeegee's gone, but the cap remains intact otherwise, which is fine.
What size are you, by the way?
7.5.
I was hoping you're a little bit of a smaller head, but you got too much hair.
It's just a gigantic dome.
So let me ask a question. If you had a chance, let's say outside of Japan, if you had a chance to go somewhere right now and have this specific food for brunch and wear a specific cap, what would it be?
I actually love LA. Not being able to travel, I was probably in LA every other month. When I worked in TV, it made sense. Now, just like the food scene in LA is crazy. It's mostly just because it's so big, but also just think like the influences there are influences that like aren't in New York. Like I always say, like Mexican food in LA, like you can't get anything close to that in New York. So go in there, and also like Dodgers. My favorite ballpark is Old Yankee Stadium. Unfortunately, Old Yankee Stadium is no more. So my current favorite ballpark is Dodger Stadium. I just think there's something so special about it. You go there, you like eat a Dodger dog, you just watch a baseball game, and it's like you don't think that ballpark is what 60, 70 years old now. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel so super modern, but it doesn't feel old at all, and it's such a great baseball experience.
Yeah.
I love it there.
Those older ballparks have more character.
Mm-hmm.
They really do. You know, some of the new, like I've enjoyed my trips to. I love Camden Yards, though. I will say that Camden Yards was the first one of that new era of ballpark. That's a great place to watch a baseball game. But I do love Fenway. But I went out to the Washington Nationals Park, and I'm like, this thing is like a shopping mall with a baseball field attached to it. It just feels like it doesn't feel as good as some of these other ballparks, you know. But
Right, yeah. I mean, like, and even New Yankee Stadium, I've gotten adjusted a little bit, but it just like, if I never went to the old stadium, I would probably go there and think it's the greatest place in the whole world. But like having so many like visceral memories of being in Old Yankee Stadium, the smells and the sounds and the energy and I was at a couple incredible games. The games that come to mind were one, I was at the oh geez, all these years are getting so confused. We beat the Red Sox, the Pedro game, the
2003.
Was that it? Okay, yes.
In the ALCS.
Yes, that was it. The Aaron Boone game. How could I forget Aaron Boone?
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, the commercial break came back late, so I saw the ball already launched. I didn't even get to see the goddamn pitch that ended my 2003 and ended the remote control that I broke in half after that happened. Go ahead. You were there, right?
I was at that game, which is like the greatest. I remember when I worked in sports TV. I worked for SNY. I worked for SNY, which is the Mets network, and I worked for WCBS, the local sports department here.
Yep.
So I would be in every locker room, but I would usually be, especially at Mets games, I'd probably be in the visitors locker room just because we had more important people in the Mets locker room. So it was when Aaron Boone was.
Well, in all due respect, Jeremy, there are also more important players in the visitor locker room than the Mets. So you were actually lucking out. You actually lucked out.
But I remember Aaron Boone was there. I forget if he was on the Nationals, maybe he was a coach or managing Nationals at the time. And I just remember just like shaking. I was like, I was there.
Yeah.
That was game one of the 2001 World Series where they hit like the Tino Grand Slam and it's so long ago. But I just remember I was in the upper deck and just like the upper deck in the old Yankee Stadium would shake up and down after something like that. And just like memories that just,
where were you when Luis Gonzalez ended that World Series?
That was a very sad moment. One of the worst moments ever.
Since you opened a wound for me, I wanted to open one for you. You know? But listen, I know you have a few caps to show us, but I wanted to ask my fearless co-host there, Leon, because Leon's always brimming with questions, and I'm sure he's got a few up his sleeve right now. So Leon, what would you like to ask Jeremy?
Well, I mean, how do you guys like? So you're usually traveling, you're doing your food thing. So where do you kind of fit in the hat shopping? So where are kind of the coolest places? How do you kind of fit that in?
At this point, a lot of the times I'll when I'm there, I'll see if I can find something. I mean, there are lids everywhere. It makes it pretty easy, especially when I'm in that city looking for that team. It's generally easy. What's funny is I go to LA a lot. So as much as I'm probably more of a Dodgers fan, there's only so many different Dodgers caps you could own, while the Angels have a million caps. Ooh. And even in LA, it's hard to find Angels caps. Nobody cares. So generally usually what ends up happening is I'll come back from the city. Also, it's hard to fit a hat into my small suitcase without destroying it. So now a lot of times I'll travel, and then when I come home, I'll order it online from wherever. If it's a major league team, it's easy enough. If it's a minor league team, sometimes have to do a little bit more digging. But it's not too difficult.
I will say it's probably harder to find an Angels cap, but they are better looking caps.
Yeah, especially their like 60s and 70s. I mean, all of them, even like
Dude, their
now
logos are the most slept on logos in baseball.
and like you know, all this nostalgia for like the Disney Angels too. Like, oh, like that's the coolest. I got the one of like the powder blue. I'm like, I love it. Way better than what they wear now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Leon, for Jeremy?
No, not really. I mean, I saw your video in Toronto, so you hit up all the good spots.
Okay.
I gotta point you in the right direction for the hat stores, though. We can't just have you shopping at Lids, though.
What's your favorite
Please.
cuisine from Toronto?
Ooh, let me think. You know, what's the most interesting thing? I love Toronto. I hadn't been to Toronto in 20 years. Last time I was there, I went with my mom, and we went up there where the Yankees were playing. That would be like my trips when I was little. It was like we'd find out when the Yankees were going to these places, and I'd go to see the stadium. So I went to go see a bunch of Yankees games at the Sky Dome 20 years ago. So I went back this past summer. Blue Jays they're out of town, but I did like a stadium tour. I just want to see the stadium anyway. But you know, the food in Toronto is so diverse, which sometimes people don't realize. So I actually had like Egyptian brunch in Toronto. It was my first time even eating Egyptian food. I was blown away. I thought it was fantastic. But there was like a classic like pea meal bacon sandwich thing at the food market there. Like the food is just really diverse and really amazing. And pancakes. They love their blueberry pancakes in Toronto. So I did a whole like blueberry pancakes roundup video of like the best of the best.
Well, Leon, I think, approves of your food choices. That's why he's speechless, but he doesn't approve he wants to make sure that he diversifies your hat shopping experiences outside of Lids.
Like I said, this is like as much as I've collected for so long, immersing myself in this culture is all very new to me. So please, I'm all ears.
Well, Jeremy, before we get into your caps, right, that you're going to show us, have you ever been to Lawrence, Kansas?
No. I've
Good
been
luck,
to
because they throw anybody in jail in there. So
I have actually wait, I take that back. I went to so here's what I did. I used to work on a show about state fairs.
Okay.
So I flew into Wichita and I went to the Kansas State Fair, which is like an hour or so west of Wichita. Is that anywhere near this?
Well, this is pretty close to where I believe Jason Mead was arrested for peeing on a light pole.
Oh.
I mean, that may have been one of the reasons, but the Iowa State Fair, by far the best state fair.
Yeah, what's sad is that's the only one it was a show we were casting, so we just sort of up to the schedule. I think that one happens first or something like that. It was the only I was sent to. I went to Minnesota State Fair, the Kansas State Fair, the Texas State Fair, the Oklahoma State Fair, the Florida State Fair, and the Georgia State Fair.
Ooh. Okay, so this was like a state fair of Lapalooza, right? So this sounds like it was a lot of fun. So, yeah. Listen, I'd love to see some of your caps. Then what we're gonna do, Jeremy, is we're gonna take you through this wonderful world of Week in Review, where Leon takes us on this wonderful journey where we look at all the previous week's cap releases and we critique them. But I want to see what you want to show us.
Sure. I mean, I just sort of quickly grabbed a bunch. It's an endless collection, but so this like the New York Giants, I just think it's cool. I love the green. I'm very into these green caps now. Oh shit, I should have grabbed it. One thing that was on my list that I actually found a few weeks ago is I really wanted the like low profile green Yankees. And I kept thinking, oh, I gotta look for 1980s, but then it was like a 1960s, whatever. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Exactly what I was looking for. But anyway, I just like this one because when I wear it, people think it's a Mets cap because they're like, oh, it's a dope black Mets cap. I'm like, no, this is a New York Giants cap.
Yeah.
This one.
I love the green. Here. I love the green under. I think a lot of folks think I'm more of a pink under now, but I love the green under. The green is just classic, man.
Well, also like I'm very, as much as I like all these new fancy colors, I always try and stick to what's actually worn on the field. Gotcha. Now it's expands. Like usually my rule is like, okay, the first cap that I get of that team is something that they have worn on the field. And then I can like expand into everything else. But I try and get that one official one. The Astros prototype, I love.
Oh,
Like I
yeah.
posted about this the other day, and I was like bummed that I didn't pick up the white and the blue versions of this. Also, I think it's the first one they dropped, and I was like, I need it. And then I was like, oh wait, look at those other colors.
Oh my God, there's a ton of those out there.
Yeah, the green one's so nice.
Green ones.
Oh yeah. So this one go back to the WWE stuff. I love when they did the partnership with New Era for these caps. Like my whole life coming together pretty much. I haven't loved a lot of the designs. That's more of a WWE thing. Like their t-shirts suck for the most part. That has fallen into their caps too. But I felt like, oh, even though I'm not like an old school WCW fan, I'm like, oh, old school Sting, very like 90s vibe. Like I'm like, okay, I could legitimately wear this cap. And just some other new ones, like again, like variants of just like the green, the Milwaukee Braves.
Oh, that's
like,
that's a great
that patch is nice.
Yeah, that's really nice.
I fell into a weird.
Who'd they beat that year?
They unfortunately beat the Yankees that year. I fell into like a YouTube black hole.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
Oh yeah, sure. I fell into a YouTube black hole, like all about the Boston and then Milwaukee Braves, and I was like right around time I bought that hat. I was feeling it. And then this Dodgers cap, obviously like Brooklyn boy. I love my Dodgers caps, but I just like the idea that this one is different than the one every single other person owns. So
yeah,